So this guy, RobsMedia, made an hour-long video titled Why I Hate Adult Content Creators, and it's doing the rounds on commentary YouTube right now, and I thought about doing a full reaction to it because that's the kind of content I make. But after watching the commentary on it, I feel like it doesn't make sense to make like an hour and a half to 2 hour long reaction to this when there's like maybe 5 to 10 minutes worth of content here actually worth engaging with. All right, so like on principle, I have no problem with this concept of hating adult content creators. I'm pretty neutral overall on the whole idea of adult content creation, of sex work in general. I'm a humanist, so if you're gonna want to get me on board with the idea of hating adult content creators or adult content creation in general, you're gonna have to bring more to me than religious reasons or just like vaguely gesturing at the idea of degeneracy and a declining society, etc. I think there's a lot of things within the industry that are worth talking about and are worth criticizing, such as exploitation and the use of minors in certain content. Otherwise, I just don't care. And like the only real take I have like on standby if somebody asks me about it is I just think that women should think very in depth about everything that goes along with or could go along with that kind of career before they get into it. Beyond that, what consenting adults do amongst each other is their business. And even if somebody is hurting themselves in some way, unless they are like asking for help or getting out of that, like they have the right to harm themselves if they so choose. So instead of reacting to this whole video, I'm just gonna like speed run some of the points that he makes, if you can call them that. He like barely has any points, and at the end his conclusion just like it makes my brain hurt. So we're gonna get into this. I will say I can't speak for most of his content, but I have enjoyed a couple of his videos, especially ones on like Jake Doolittle, Ethan is Online, Denims, Frogan. He has this series called Idiot Influencers, and I like appreciate kind of the cataloging that he has done of kind of the dumb things that these breadtuber lefty influencers have said and done over the years. But whenever he does try to make a point of his own, it tends to be incredibly shallow. It doesn't engage with the material that much or any of the points made, and is often kind of a very safe opinion. And at the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with that. Safe opinions tend to be the most popular ones. But I'm going to go ahead and say I feel like this video here is a huge flop. But obviously, there's going to be a lot of people that love it too.
Last year, I released a video criticizing various adult content creators. There are certain points I made there that I want to expand upon, as I want to supply legitimate criticism of the adult content creation genre. There are lots of points to go over, so let's start with the most contentious one.
So, right off the bat, his claim here is that he wants to give legitimate criticism of the adult content genre. We'll see if he delivers on that, and here is his first point.
They spread propaganda. Many adult content creators and their friends will blatantly spread lies and misleading information for
So he says that he believes that a lot of these content creators spread a lot of lies and misinformation. So let's see his examples of that.
I'm sure some of you will remember the infamous video iDubbbz made about sex work. The one he released in March 2020 after his fans began making fun of him for having a wife who does OnlyFans. It's a video clearly made out of spite, as most of his arguments are incredibly weak. Weakest of all is his claim that doing OnlyFans won't impact your ability to get a different job.
And then future jobs, they might be a little bit harder to come by.
I think this is one of the most important opinions to highlight because it really demonstrates a severe lack of real-world experience when you're saying that future jobs are going to be harder to come by because of an OnlyFans account. Like, if you think this affects your standing or your social credibility in getting jobs, you are so sadly mistaken.
He's not simply arguing why that's wrong. He's denying that it ever happens. No substantial argument is made following this claim. Ian just asserts that doing sex work is on the same level as making commentary videos.
In my head, there would be so many other things to do and make money before stooping to this point.
I find it very fascinating that a commentary YouTuber who's known for criticizing others, much like me, would be willing to take the position that sex work is beneath them, that they aren't on the same level as sex work. That's fascinating. I find it really interesting that that's the position you want to take. I think that'll age quite nicely.
And right after that, Ian just moves on to his next point. He doesn't elaborate on why those two things are on the same level. He treats this like a socially acceptable thing without explaining why or how.
So his first point is this 4-year-old video of iDubbbz defending his partner's OnlyFans career, and I don't think that iDubbbz makes good arguments here. I haven't seen this whole video. These specific clips, though, there's no real argumentation going on. But at the end of the day, like, he is just right. Like, the majority of people who make OnlyFans probably only do it for like a couple of months, and then it's either too much work for them or they're not making any money versus the amount of work that they're putting in. And at that point, maybe you've had like a handful of people come to your OnlyFans page and view your content. Typically, none of them are going to know who you are in real life. If you do things, correctly, you're not using your real name, your full name, anything like that. A lot of people like don't even put their face in the content, right? Like a typical search is just not going to show up on like a search that a job would do to kind of figure out some basic information on you. And if you do make it big on OnlyFans, Amaranth is just like never going to go back to a normal job. Even if she did stop doing OnlyFans, she would, continue to stream or transfer into some other kind of content, or, would probably be welcome to be hired on by some sort of company that is involved in content creation. Now, that's not to say that you shouldn't think about the consequences of putting naked pictures of yourself online and how that might affect your future. And now I know that there are like some anecdotes here and there of OnlyFans like causing people to lose their jobs or not get a job, stuff like that. Like it is a possibility, but I think it's much more likely that the majority of people who do it's never really going to affect their lives in real life. I think it's much more propaganda to say that, it's most likely going to cause you to not be able to get a job in the future. So point one, super, super weak. I don't think it's propaganda to say that, like, for the majority of people, especially if you do it right, it's not really going to affect your future job prospects. So his next point goes into an interview from a creator that he used to watch a lot, where he interviewed an OnlyFans model, and he did not like some of the answers that she gave. Let's look at that.
The problem I have with it is that this girl uses this interview as an opportunity to not only promote herself, but also advertise the prospects of sex work towards vulnerable young women. Tuv first asks how she got into doing OF.
And how did you get into OnlyFans? And how old were you when that happened?
Oh, so I got into OnlyFans when I was it was 1 month after I turned 18. I already had OnlyFans in the back of my mind, like when I was 17, but I really went with it when I was 18. And for my first year, that shit was dead. But once I was at a different point in my life, I actually needed the money to get my first crib. That's when I started taking it more seriously in my second year.
Now after this, Lust for Goddess, who we'll just call Luna, brings up that she used to work at a daycare and now does OF because it's more profitable for her. Throughout, she brags about her success, with Tuv mentioning that she was at the top 3.2% of creators on the platform. She also almost leaks how much money she makes, but Tuv warns her not to.
I was really shocked when I saw the total amount of money, because nowadays I make a month on average from Twitter, from OnlyFans, Fansly, all my sites combined.
I'm gonna censor that. I don't want you to say that on the internet. I'm gonna censor that for you, okay?
Oh, okay, thank you.
It's too personal. You never tell people how much you make. That's a great amount, by the way. I just censored it, guys. Yeah. You guys didn't hear it, but that's fucking crazy.
Tuv continuously gets her back on track, asking about the downsides of doing sex work. He inquires about the amount of harassment one gets from simps, and while she does answer it, they quickly move on to the next topic. Luna is asked why she thinks there's negative stigma around sex work.
The difference is between like sex workers and non-sex workers is that we just get paid to fuck. We just get paid to do sexual shit. People really look down upon that because, oh, she's like being sexual and she's open about it and she's showing her nude body to the world. That should be secret and whatever. And like, I feel like it's just super deviant in our society, or that's how it's viewed at least. And I just really feel like sex worker is definitely one of the oldest jobs in like history, bro.
Yeah,
and I don't think that stigma and shame is never going to completely go away. But I really hope people understand, like, sex work, personally, I stay at home. I don't go out do meetups. To people who do meetups, that's great for them. I don't judge them. There's definitely tons of areas of sex work. None of them should be categorized into like degrading terms like a prostitute or something like that. I just feel like it's totally unfair.
First of all, I love how she justifies sex work by saying it's one of society's oldest jobs. That doesn't automatically make it a good thing.
So that is true. Just because people have been doing it for a long time doesn't necessarily mean it's right or good, but he makes no argument to oppose that at all. I think what she said is perfectly reasonable. This is supposed to be the area where we're talking about OnlyFans creators sharing propaganda. She's just kind of expressing her opinions on the issue. It is true, I think, that women are degraded in this profession. I don't think it's a like a degenerate profession, but women are degraded in the profession. But the truth is that women are degraded their whole lives, no matter what they do. They're degraded in school, they're degraded in churches, they're degraded in workplaces, they're degraded in their traditional family. An upside, I think, probably to doing online adult content creation is that it kind of puts a barrier of separation between these women and the men that degrade them. And it's possible that they could receive a lot more compensation than they could being degraded at McDonald's or really any other workplace.
Second, part of the reason why there's stigma around sex work is because of how easy it is to do. For the most part, it doesn't require any actual talent to do. Live streaming 8 hours a day is more respectful than this. Third, the definition of a prostitute is someone that engages in sexual activities for money. There's a difference between that and street prostitution, which is what I think Luna is trying to clarify.
So he does this a lot throughout the video where he says, well, the difference is that this and this and this, but he doesn't really explain the difference or why there's a difference or what the meaning to the difference is. Like, what does him thinking that doing online adult content creation is easy have anything to do with what she just said? Also, it can be easy if you put zero effort into it, but I think being very successful at it requires a lot. Like you are a producer, you are a social media influencer to do marketing and stuff. You're doing the actual sex work of, whatever kind of content you do on the OnlyFans. You have to do, all your finances and stuff. Like, it is a business and it can be hard. It's the same thing with streaming or doing YouTube or something. It can be incredibly easy if you don't put a lot of work into it. But, being successful at it and putting out a lot of content is hard work. And I'll be honest, I just don't think that people thinking that it's easy is high on the list of why it's stigmatized.
Now, my main issue with this interview comes right at the end when Tuv asks this.
To the struggling young people out there, would you recommend sex work?
Yes, absolutely. I recommend sex work 1,000% because I was dead ass like slaving at a fucking like farm, like working days on end, like fucking like bending over, hunching over, doing actual fucking labor. That was just not it. I was not making good money from that at all. Like, I'm gonna be straight up, I was not making a livable wage. I had to figure out like how the fuck can I work smarter? And OnlyFans was definitely that outlet for me to like build several income streams from doing sex work. It is definitely a great way to make money. There's so many people that be like, get a real job, bro. Like, there's people in real life and online telling me that. Dude, I've been making guap in my room, and little do they know that they're telling me get a whole job like that.
Yeah.
Like, I've been making the most money than I ever have at a 9 to 5.
Tuv clarifies that teenagers shouldn't be thinking about doing OF, which Luna pretends to agree with, despite her stating that she thought about doing it since age 17. But this whole idea that doing OnlyFans is better than your typical 9 to 5 has been echoed a lot online.
Yeah, so again, that was supposed to be propaganda that he doesn't like. That's just him not liking her opinions. But this is just true. Like if you could do OnlyFans work instead of, doing backbreaking work at a farm, if it's something you enjoy and you like doing and you become successful at it and made a lot of money at it, you would do that in a heartbeat. I promise everybody would do that pretty much. Now, my only caveat, and what I would, I guess, like for her and like every, adult content creator to say, is that, again, like really make sure you are thinking about like the consequences of doing this kind of work and what it's going to mean for you and your life. And also be thinking like long-term, like, how long am I going to be doing this? What's the plan for after this is over? To really be thinking about that, I think is important. But to me, like it's just not that different from like streaming or doing YouTube or anything like that. Like it's probably not a great career choice, right? For the majority of people, because they are not going to make a whole lot of money off of it. And I think if you're going into it thinking you're going to make a whole lot of money off of it, you're going to be disappointed, right? It should start off as a hobby. And then if you put hard work into it and you get lucky, then maybe it turns into something more. And that's amazing. But if it's something you're interested in and you're okay with the consequences of it, then I think it's something you should go for, right? And I think a lot of streamers could just as easily have a hard time getting jobs after doing some of the stuff that they've done online. You know what I'm saying? But I don't see RobsMedia whining about that. So next he's going to play a clip of Hassan talking about like sex work and capitalism and whatnot. And as much as I do not care for Hassan, he's just right here. But first he spends like a full 2 minutes poisoning the well against Hassan. And I'm all for poisoning the well, especially against somebody like Hassan. But you got to at least like make your points relevant to the topic. Let's see what he thinks is propaganda from Hassan on OnlyFans.
Please do not degrade yourself for currency. Amaranth is hardly a good role model, and Maya's just saying this to avoid an awkward situation. What? Like, the people that say this work at McDonald's, dude. It's called capitalism. You are literally degrading yourself for currency every fucking day. Like, you think your job is not degrading when you're a fucking dumbass manager who's only like above you in a role because he's been there for a longer period of time than you, yelling at you about how you can't take, breaks to go watch Hasanabi in the fucking bathroom. Like, you think that's not degrading, dude? You're an adult, and another fucking adult that's, like, only been there for a little bit longer than you is, like, controlling every aspect of your life.
Hassan is trying to claim that having a 9 to 5 job is more degrading than sex work. There's very clearly a difference between having a strong work ethic at your fast food job and showing all your holes online so that some degenerate simp can jerk off to you. One actually inspires some level of respect.
So first off, he did not say that normal 9 to 5 is more degrading than sex work. He's just saying, hey, look, it pretty much anywhere that you go to work, you're going to experience some level of degradation in that workplace. Welcome to capitalism, And I'm sorry, working as hard as you can at your 9 to 5 at McDonald's is never going to get you any level of respect anywhere, right? You work McDonald's your whole life, you're going to die broke and poor with zero respect. Me personally, I would rather die super rich with zero respect. Like, at the end of the day, you can think it's icky, you can think it's gross, you can think it's degrading, you can think it's, not something you would do, it's not something you have to do, but saying that it's degrading is not a good argument for why people shouldn't do it or why it's bad. So that's kind of his 3 big points. iDubbbz, this woman who did an interview with this YouTuber, and then Hassan Piker. He then goes on to vaguely gesture to, adult content creators, talking more about the positives of sex work and OnlyFans and not enough about the negatives, or like talking about how much they make and they make all this money, and never talking about how like the average OnlyFans creator makes like $120 to $180 a month. I'm sorry, everybody knows that at this point. Everybody knows that the majority of people on OnlyFans are not going to be super successful or make a ton of money. And personally, I think that there's a good mix of creators out there talking about like some of the harms that are possible, talking about it realistically, talking about it in good ways, right? If there was like a ton of propaganda that was like harming people, I feel like he would have better examples and better points. So the next section he goes into is talking about degeneracy for clout, and basically talking about how these content creators feel the need to do like more and more crazy stuff to kind of one up each other and stand out amongst the competition. And the first example he has is Lily Phillips, the woman who recently slept with like 100 men in one day.
And there's no better way to exemplify this than the recent Lily Phillips documentary. Lily is your generic OF girl who's really only known for sleeping with the most amount of men possible on camera. She previously did it with 37 men in one day, and now wants to try it with 100. I actually recommend watching this full video. I swear, it's more disturbing than your average horror movie. This girl is clearly traumatized by the entire experience and ends up crying, though she copes and claims she's crying because she wanted to make the men she slept with happier.
So he has no evidence of that. And she said afterwards that she really didn't like how she was characterized in this documentary, and said that it wasn't traumatizing for her. It's like clearly Lily Phillips and like her career and everything is very much on the extreme end of the spectrum for what most people are going to do or what most people can do or even want to do. And like it's just hard for, I think, the majority of people like who have like are within like a, you know, what would be considered a more normal spectrum of sexuality and sexual desire and whatnot. There are people that are just way further down on the spectrum than the majority of people. And I think people like Lily Phillips are like that. And this is just how they've chosen to live their lives. He talks about at one point how, she talks about like dissociating during the experience. And like, if you don't think that monogamous people who get into committed relationships don't ever dissociate during sex with their partner, you're just not that like experienced in life. I think it happens with a lot more people, a lot more couples than people really realize. You kind of picture or have been given this picture of like sex and marriage as this like certain thing, and then like maybe you save yourself for it, or you're very not promiscuous or anything like that. And not that there's anything wrong with that at all. Like I said, everybody's on a different place on the spectrum, and if you like never want to, if you want to stay celibate your entire life, that's just who you are. That's totally fine. But I think especially like in America, and like I kind of grew up in this environment where you're given this like a very like religious view of like sex and relationships and everything, and then you get married and it's just nothing like what you were told. And I think for some people, they can feel very trapped in that relationship, and you don't really like enjoy having sex with your partner or want to do it, but you feel like you have to out of duty, and you try to enjoy it, and you have to dissociate yourself from that. And so like I just don't think that's necessarily a good point to say that what Lily Phillips did was bad. And at the end of the day, again, she has the right to, if this is harmful to her, she has the right to harm herself if she wants to for her career. We all harm ourselves for our career in some way or another at some point. A lot of people do, right? Think about like NFL football players or most athletes in general. They do irreparable harm to their bodies for a very short period of time to play a game that they love and make a lot of money doing it. And for the majority of people, they can't do that, right? They're not on that extreme end of the spectrum of athleticism and drive and, being able to take that pain that comes with, being hit by 300-pound guys every week. But it's what they want to do. It's what they love. I just don't see that same kind of stigmatism really around professions like that. So his next example is Adam 22 and his wife Lena the Plug, who started doing work with other men at some point, and that's just like, I guess, talking about how degenerate that is. Like, sure, not something the majority of people would or want to do, but that's their choice. I don't know what to tell you. Then he talks about Bo Blacks and all the stuff that he's got going on, because that's just what you got to do, I guess, in February 2025. It really doesn't tie into any point that he has at all. So the next person she talks about is this streamer and OnlyFans creator, Natalie, and basically just goes over like some annoying stuff that she's done in public. I'm not sure what that has to do with hating adult. I mean, she's an adult OnlyFans model and he hates her, so I guess that's it. But there's just like no point here. Like, he just doesn't like her, and that's okay. Like, I feel like this whole video would be better if like he just said like, hey, look at these dumb whores, I hate all these people. That's fine. But there's like this constant like trying to like relate it to other things, or like say like, well, it's different because it's just different, and like this like trying to gesture at like some vague sense of degeneracy and moral decline, but it just doesn't hit. Like, just say these women are whores and you hate them. That would be more respectful to me, and like I would respect it more, and you'd probably get a lot more views as well. And he just talks about like women who do like fitness content in general. It's boring at this point. Like, what are we doing? So the next section, he's talking about OnlyFans models invading other platforms. First one he talks about is dating apps like Tinder, where women will go on and they're just there to promote their OnlyFans content. And I think this is a fine point to make. I think the dating app should be used for their intended purposes. But I think overall, they tend to do a pretty good job of cracking down on that stuff. Then next, he talks about Twitter, and yeah, I mean, this is annoying, right? I like Twitter in general is a hot dumpster fire. I go on there every once in a while to view like a few specific accounts, but if you're just scrolling on there, it's just like brain damage after brain damage after brain damage. You can say it's annoying, you don't have to like it, but at the end of the day, like, these women are just like using the means at hand to market themselves, market their careers. Then he goes on to complain about like one of his favorite like normie Instagram accounts being taken over by OnlyFans models, and I've seen this happen a couple times. Like, there's a couple of like meme accounts that I used to follow that now like pretty much all they post is like these like hidden advertisements for OnlyFans models, and I just unfollow them when they start doing that. But I think it's hilarious that he is whining that his like I fucking love science Instagram account that he follows has been taken over by OnlyFans models. I think that's pretty funny. Next, he talks about like Twitch and streaming, and I hate that I have to give a W to Hassan and Denims in one video, but like this is just like a rare W from Denims that he is going to complain about. Let's see what she has to say.
Why not blame the thousands of people who watch these streams? You don't understand, they're just poor little teenage boys that are being taken advantage of. Oh, yeah. Right.
I'm completely fine to making fun of some of these adult gooner fans of these streamers, but Denims is specifically mentioning teens. Imagine using her logic when someone is addicted to gambling or drugs. Oh, it's not the drug dealer's fault, it's the kid's fault for buying drugs from them. Denims just doesn't have the capacity to self-criticize her side, she just places the blame on everyone else. Earlier in the stream, Denims also tries to argue that kids are going to find porn anyways, so what's the big deal?
Oh, but Denims, kids are gonna go on the internet anyways? Okay, do you wanna ban Pornhub too? Because that argument is fucking stupid. If you're gonna sit here and look me in the eyes and say, and goalpost, mind you, pearl clutch goalpost, well, the platform is for teenagers, it's for kids. Guess what? They literally say if you're a kid, you need parent supervision. Yeah, well, do you actually expect kids to ask for parent supervision? Okay, should we just nuke the internet of anything R-rated?
She's clearly ignoring the fact that Pornhub does not market itself as 13+, Twitch does. That is the difference, but she instead tries to create a false equivalency. She's just a disingenuous piece of shit, no other way to explain it. Now,
yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, she's just right there. Like, it's just not on these women's responsibility. As long as they're staying within the terms of service, it's not their responsibility to, like, you know, wear fucking turtleneck shirts. Like, you know, it's not their responsibility. You know, parents should have the responsibility of monitoring and supervising what their children do online. And I promise you, it's just as easy for a teenager to get on Pornhub as it is to get on a Twitch stream. So the next section he goes into is talking about promoting to minors. And I don't think any of the examples he shows are really showing like promoting to minors. Now he comes close a little bit to some salient points about using minors within their like normal TikTok creation, content creation stuff, which you can argue in some cases is inappropriate and just like weird, especially like this girl here.
Involving her entire family in the promotional videos.
So how does it feel to have a sister that has an OF? My friends always ask me if it's pink, but I don't really know what they mean by that. NANI? Do you know? Jesus Christ. Click the link in my bio. I can't. Okay, so how does it feel to finally know what's pink? Well, you're a liar because my friend's saying it's...
All right, listen, this is like very weird. Is it inappropriate? I don't know. Some families are just a lot more open about topics like this, and you know, as long as there's not exploitation involved, like I just don't know how much of a problem I have with this. It's like he's very much in on it. He's been doing this with her for a while now. He like goes on their like fake podcast and like does rage bait content with her. It's weird. It's gross in my opinion, but you know, is there like a point to make beyond that? I don't know. And I don't think that it's like specifically promoting to minors because one, minors don't have money to pay for OnlyFans, and two, it's virtually impossible for them to access OnlyFans. So the next section here for like 20 minutes is the rest of the video pretty much talking about these online creators being toxically insecure is a reason why he hates them. And first example is Jack Doherty being confronted by FouseyTube. Jack is one of the few like people in this video that I will agree is like a degenerate scumbag loser. Okay. It just like turns into a I hate Jack Doherty video for a little bit. He then goes on to talk about how Froggy Fresh was kicked out of the Creator Clash for making a joke about iDubbbz's wife's OnlyFans. And look, I think it was a bad idea for them to kick him out. I think, you know, the whole shit talking thing is like a part of any kind of like boxing or, you know, fighting competition thing. I think it was good marketing for the event. I don't think he like super meant anything by it, but at the same time, like, hey, they want to make their place a safe place for sex workers and OnlyFans creators and stuff. So like, it's their choice to, you know, why would they want it to have him there? That's totally fine. And again, it just kind of turns into a I hate iDubbbz and Anissa video for a couple minutes, and then we go on to denims again. All right, rest of it is not even worth talking about. You know, obviously, if you want, go watch this whole video. It's incredibly boring and mind-numbing, but he gets to his conclusion here, which is the most mind-numbing of all. So let's see what he has to say.
This is a video I've been passionately working on for quite some time now, as I truly wanted to get to the bottom of why I dislike these creators so much.
Bro, imagine spending any amount of time making this video. Like, again, just show the picture of the women, show some stuff that they've done, and said, this is stupid whore, I hate her. That, like, don't try to come in here and make some sort of like profound statement on why what they're doing is wrong, or why it's, you know, worse than other things, anything like that, because you fell flat on your face trying to do that. There's not a single salient point or interesting point even in this entire video.
Because unlike what these critters and what their friends will say, it's not for some superficial reason like that I'm sexist, or think that all sex workers are entirely beneath me. The core issue is that these people are aware of the negative stigma surrounding them, and instead of accepting it and trying to differentiate themselves from it, they choose to dismiss it completely, and even ignore it existing in the first place.
So, they know that I hate them, but they won't acknowledge it and try to be better. Like, who fucking cares, dude?
None of these people actually want to have a nuanced conversation on the topic. They either won't engage with criticism of sex work because they financially
This was a nuanced conversation on the topic.
depend on it, or because they can poke holes in their political beliefs. The ultimate defense against this stigma is for these creators to...
Why show Hassan there? Like, what he said about sex work is entirely consistent with his political beliefs. Like, it is kind of foundation to his political beliefs that capitalism is degrading and exploitative to everybody. And sex work is not, like, super unique from that.
Just be self-aware and honest about what they do. Many of the examples listed use coping tactics to handle hate or backlash, or will use deceptive tactics to get what they want. And then, they feign ignorance while wondering why sex work is seen as degrading. It's why most of these creators label themselves as content creators. They have to lump themselves in with other digital creators instead of outright calling themselves sex workers. Obviously, the title of this video is...
I think that they do that, but also, they make a lot of other content. Like, probably, like, I don't know what the percentage is, but like a huge majority of the content that these people make is other content than OnlyFans. And a lot of it is like either unrelated or related to marketing. Like, they are content creators. It's just cope to think that they're not.
Meant to be inflammatory. I don't actually hate every single sex worker. The common link between the...
Also, how is any of this supposed to get them to change? Like, what is in here for them to, like, look at and say, you know what? Yeah, you're right. I am going to be more self-aware. I am going to change. Really? I don't think so.
The ones I don't dislike is that they're self-aware and can make jokes about what they do. This is why you don't see someone like Riley Reid get as much hate as someone like Amaranth and Morgpie, because she can laugh about herself. She even went as...
That's not true. It's all of this, everything. It's all of this is okay, guys, as long as you can laugh at yourself, as long as you're self-aware. Give me a fucking break. Riley Reid has gotten so much hate, so much degradation. The difference is that she, in the past especially, has not been in the public eye as much as all of these other creators have, right? Like, Amaranth is like known to like probably the majority of people as like a streamer first, then like an OnlyFans model. That's where most people have seen her. And she's just like in people's faces a lot more than Riley Reid is. Like, outside of, you know, Riley Reid's work on Pornhub, where did you see her? Like, in the past, I don't know, year maybe, I've seen her more like doing TikToks and Instagram stuff like that. But like, she just hasn't been like in the public that much as other people. So she's just not going to get as much hate as other people. It's not because she can laugh at herself. Like, what the fuck?
As far as to make skits of the Raka Raka twins poking fun at how degrading sex work is. She doesn't seem to hide any of this stuff, which makes her seem like an actual person and not some deceptive liar looking for a quick buck.
So a lot of times when people ask me if they should do porn, I tell them no. I tell them that it makes life really hard. It makes dating really hard. It makes your family life really hard. It makes intimacy hard. You're putting yourself out there and the world is now judging you. You have to be okay with being shamed every day of your life. I don't even want to have children because I do porn, because I'm worried of the way that people will treat my child.
So, like, a big thing here that I don't think he's like putting into consideration is that, like, what Riley Reid has done throughout her life is just incredibly different than like what Anissa, Idub's wife, does. Like, Anissa's work is like mostly like clothed work, like lingerie. Riley has been like gangbanged by like a lot of people at one time. Like, she's done all kinds of stuff. Like, it's just not super comparable. And yeah, like somebody like Anissa's in the work that she does and the kind of OnlyFans content that she makes is probably gonna have a different answer than someone like Riley Reid. Like, getting into the porn industry is a lot different than making an OnlyFans.
The fact that these are things that I think about because the people are so fucking shitty sucks. I don't know. A lot of times I tell people you shouldn't do porn because there's just a lot of negatives that come out of it, and you have to be a really strong person to be able to be okay with it.
So yeah, like his point, I guess, is as long as they accept the degradation enough and hate themselves enough, then they're okay. Then they're cool, in his book.
If you take anything away from this video, it's that these creators can be reasonably criticized. Many are stuck up.
I'm sure they can, but I saw like zero legitimate criticism in this video, you know?
Insecure liars who are willing to do almost anything to get that bag before their 15 minutes of fame expires. I'm sure 10 years from now, we'll see a wave of videos come out where former sex workers describe their regrets when joining the industry, instead of doing something more fulfilling with their lives.
Like, we don't have to wait for that. Like, porn has been around for a very long time, and mixed reviews in the end. Some people loved it, and you know, some people hated it and experienced a lot of exploitation and trauma. And like, there's like serious and deep conversations to be had here about the industry and the harms that it can cause and things that could be better. But, you know, it is the oldest profession in the world, and as long as we have sex, we're going to have sex work as well. And I think, you know, conversations on how we can make it safer for women, OnlyFans is a huge contributor to that. You know, conversations that we can have on that are important and like good to have. And I think there's, you know, there's definitely criticisms that can be made of specific creators of the industry in general. I'm not opposed to that at all, but like, this was just like an utterly worthless and pointless video.
Though maybe that's rich coming from me, because I just made an hour-long video about sex workers. Anyways, subscribe for more content, and cue the incoming comments about how I'm an incel because I dared make fun of women.
Yeah, I don't know, like, Rob might be an incel? I don't know. Maybe. I don't think this like conclusively makes him that, but there was a lot of like takes here that don't like engage with the content at all, or like any kind of point that he's trying to make. Anyways, this video ended up being a little bit more lengthy than I expected it to be. Like I said, I'm pretty neutral on the adult content industry. A lot of people that I think are dumb and probably would not associate with, but like at the end of the day, that it just is like does not occupy my mind at all. And I think that you know, there's like two sides of the spectrum. One of like of the incels who just hate women and hate the idea of like sex work in general, hate the idea of women making money off of this stuff. And then there's like the other side that like super simps for it and like doesn't acknowledge any sort of like issues in the industry, or just like goes to like a cringe level of like white knighting for them. It's just, you know, it is what it is. Anyways, I've seen a lot of commentators praise this video. I mean, it's like, it's not like a bad video. It's just like a utter waste of time. There's like no interesting points made. It was like meandering. It became like the I Hate Design, I Hate Denim show several times throughout. Yeah, I don't know. I'll probably still watch his videos if he makes more on people like Ethan Is Online, or, you know, Jake Doolittle or whatnot. But this was like a huge miss in my books. If you watch this video, please like the video. It's the least that you could do. Okay. And then, you know, if you want to take your support one step further, go check out some of my other videos. My goal is to just be good background noise. Okay. If you find my content good background noise, give me a subscribe. If there's a way that I can make my background noise more enjoyable for you, let me know. Thank you for watching though. I will see you next time.